Amen. You can be seated this morning. Happy Sunday to you. Okay, I'm just going to shoot straight. I was a little worried that I wasn't going to see very many Chiefs stuff out today. I thought that maybe there was a chance. When the Chiefs played Detroit 2 years ago and lost on Thursday night, there wasn't a drop of red in here. There were more Packers fans that Sunday than there were Chiefs fans. I'm glad that we're like, hey, we're in it. It's good. I'm obviously rocking one of the saddest teams of all, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but someday I'll wear this with pride. But right now it's more just shame. But you know what? Maybe this year will be different. But hey, we beat the mighty Akron Zips last night, 68-0. So there we go. So I don't know, but hey, happy Sunday. A couple things to make you aware of before we get after it. One, we had our first ever Her Night on Friday night. Yeah, it was awesome. It was really fun. I was able to be here and serve coffee and ice cream, and it was so fun just to see everybody come out and have a great service. And really, everything I've heard is that it was so incredible. So thank you to the team that put that on. It was really, really cool. People really enjoyed that. And then also, part of Her Night, one of the things they talked about was joining a group. And this is like our group kickoff Sunday. And so if you've not signed up for a group, it's not too late. Just out in our lobby, there's a little kind of thing on the wall. And you can head down there, grab something, and join a group. If you're one of the people who likes to talk, a group is great for you. You sit around, you talk, and it's great. If you're someone who's like, I don't want to talk, I just want someone to talk to me, then we've got classes for you, okay? And you can just join a class, and we've got those there. But it's not too late to join. We'd love for you to do that. Also, real quick, there's still space available for the Scotty and Casey Gibbons Real Life Marriage Conference in 2 weeks. And man, hear me, it is going to be so good. I am thrilled. I'm excited to just sit there and listen to them talk. And I would just speak directly to the husbands right now, okay? Hear me. This is an incredible way for you to invest in your marriage. I'm just telling you that you should do it. You should make a way for you guys to be there. It will be really, really good. But hey, we're walking through the Psalms of Ascent right now. And so the Psalms of Ascent, they are Psalms 120 through Psalms 134. And basically what the Psalms of Ascent are is they are psalms that were written for people who were traveling to Jerusalem for a spiritual reason. So whether it be a sacrifice or whether it be a festival, but they would go to Jerusalem regularly to worship. And these psalms were kind of like their road trip playlist. They would sing them on the way there. And the psalm that we're going to look at this morning is actually one that was written for when they arrive. And it's a psalm that leans into this idea that it's true, okay? This is a true idea, and it's that in life, we need a master. And that God is a good master. But it got me thinking about just this idea of master. And I think of food a little bit sometimes with this. There's this new restaurant, okay? It's on South Campbell. It's called Quick Noodles. It's a Korean quick service, all-in-one restaurant, okay? It's kind of like a gas station meets. It's really nice. And so I wanted to go real bad. The staff has been going, and they were telling me about it. And I wanted to take my kids because it sounds like something my kids would really love because they love gas station culture. And they love ramen, and so it just kind of worked. And so one day at staff, I was talking to them, and I was like, I think I'm going to take my kids to Quick Noodles. And everybody there was like, have you been before? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's no, but I've been to a restaurant before. I know what to do. And everyone, every single one of them, which maybe says what they think about me, they were like, I think you should probably go with someone before you take your kids. And I'm like, what are you saying? And they're like, I think it's kind of confusing, and I just think you need. So what I ended up doing, I was like, well, who knows this better than anyone? Our youth pastor, Caleb Kosh. And so I was like, Caleb, you are my quick noodle master. Take me there and show me your ways. And so he walks me in there, and he's like, okay, this wall of ramen, I suggest this one, and there's all this stuff, and you go, and you put it all in this bowl, and Ends up going into convection oven. I probably needed him to show me before I took my kids, but I needed a master. I needed someone to go before me to show me what to do before I could handle it. And I can tell you that they went on Tuesday, my kids, and they thought it was fine. So I don't know if it was worth all of that. But the text this morning is one where we're going to look at. And it's a text where the psalmist is like leaning into this idea that this great God is our master and we can trust him. Let's look at it here. It's Psalm 123, verse 1, and it says this. The psalmist says, "To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, and as the eyes of a maidservant looks to the hand of their mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, till he has mercy on us. Have mercy on us, O Lord, have mercy on us, for we have had more than enough of contempt. Our soul has had more than enough of the scorn of those who are at ease, of the contempt of the proud." That's it. That's the psalm. That's how it ends. And just a couple big picture observations I would make before I kind of go through it one verse at a time. First, I would just draw your attention to this. If you notice the first part of the psalm, the psalmist says, I. He's kind of praying for himself. He's saying, I lift up my eyes. It's singular. But then if you go to the end of the psalm, it's interesting because it goes from him praying about himself to him praying in the context of the community with which he's traveling. And I think that that's really important because as we think about our prayer life, how much of our prayer life is us talking to God about things we want ourselves? And what you have here is you have the psalmist modeling how we should do that. And certainly there is an aspect of prayer where it is us and God and we're talking to him. But if our prayer life does not include the context of the community around us, then we are missing something when it comes to prayer. Like this psalmist is certainly experiencing the contempt of those around him and like who are looking at him. And he doesn't just pray, God, deliver me from these people who are showing me with contempt. But he's saying, God, deliver us all from this. That he isn't just selfish about what he wants, but he's looking beyond that. Another observation with this text that is, it's hard. And Derek Kidner points this out in his Psalms commentary, is that if you notice, like, the psalm ends unanswered. Like, there's not a verse 5 where it's like, and you delivered me from them. Like, that's not there. It's just that, like, he looks up to God, gives him glory, explains his problem and his challenge, and then it's over. And like, okay, isn't that life? Like there are moments, right, where you pray and it's like, man, this is great. Came through. And then there are moments where you pray and you're just waiting for the answer. And it hasn't come yet. Like that's where they are. And here's what the psalmist shows us. It shows us that while you sit there and you're waiting for the answer, you cannot change your perspective on the one you're waiting on. And you see that even though he's waiting, even though he hasn't gotten his resolution, like there's no sense there of the psalmist giving up on the Lord. I mean, look at how it starts. He says, I lift up my eyes. To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned on the heavens, or in the heavens. You know, these psalms, part of the picture of these psalms is an upward trajectory. That as they are traveling to Jerusalem, the only way to get to Jerusalem is by going up. And now like Jerusalem, it's a city on a hill. Like you have to go up to get there. And okay, like they get to the top and they keep looking up. I remember a couple times I've been to Pikes Peak. I did not hike, I drove, just so you know. But I drove up to the top. And it's harder than you would think. Okay, so whatever. There's some hairpin turns and stuff, so just, it was tough. They checked your brake temperature on the way down. Like it's not that easy. So I drove up there. And here's what I can tell you, that when I when I got to the top of Pikes Peak, I wasn't looking up. I was looking down. I was looking out. I was looking around. I wanted to experience and take in all of the beauty that was around me. The psalmist reaches the summit of the mountain. He reaches Jerusalem. He ain't looking around. He's looking up. And it's because his travel wasn't for leisure. His travel was for worship. That he went here to experience this God who is he is enthroned in the heavens. And that is such an interesting thing to say, as we know the context of this psalm is they have arrived at Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem was the temple. And in the temple was the most holy place. And in the most holy place, there was the cherubim. And we talked about this in the Overlook series, but I don't expect you to remember that. But inside of the cherubim, that is where they believed that God's presence dwelt on earth. And so they come to this place where they believe that this is where God's presence is, this is his earthly throne. And the psalmist starts this psalm by saying, yeah, but I know that you're really enthroned in the heavens. I know that there's nothing in this earth that can contain you. And as he sees that, then he kind of, leans into this master idea from God. And you see this in verse 2 where he says, behold, as the eyes of the servants look to the hand of their master, and as the eyes of the maidservants look to the hand of their mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God until he has mercy upon us. There's this thing that our culture does where we think that true freedom is found in not having any boundaries. We think to really be free, no one can ever tell me what to do. That is freedom. When what the psalmist is saying is, he's saying, no, that true freedom is when you realize who you are in relation to God. When you realize that he is your master and you want to live according to his boundaries. But we as people, we have a hard time with that. Even just think of how we approach, how fast food or chain restaurants market to us. You got Wendy's, right? And they're do what tastes right. Just imagine living your life by that rule. Do what tastes right. And Wendy's is the only one. Burger King, right? They say, have it your way. It's that chef back there ain't going to tell you what to do. If you want pickles and mustard, you get pickles and mustard. You know what I mean? Have it your way. The one that's the craziest of all, if you really think about it, though, is Outback. No rules, just right. I don't even know what that means, but I don't want to go there. And there's this, but that's what are they communicating, though? Come here, no one will tell you what to do. You can get whatever you want. And what the psalmist is saying, no, that God is your master, and inside of his boundaries is where you find freedom, where you find joy. And then there's also this thing that's mentioned here, and I think it's so obvious, but it's worth saying, that the psalmist is saying, I'm not God's master. He's my master. I don't tell him what to do. I don't bark orders at him. He doesn't live to serve me. And that's when I think that there's this really beautiful, fascinating tension with prayer. Because some of prayer is hey, God, can you do this thing? But he responds not because he owes us anything, or not because when you put your faith in Jesus, God exists to serve you. But there's this fascinating tension that even though you are our master, I can call on your name and be confident that you still work on our behalf. And then you have this, okay, so there's so much in verse 2, because if you notice it also mentions God's hand. And it's the hand of the servant. And part of what the psalmist is communicating is that, okay, that you have this God who is literally enthroned in the heavens. And he allows you to come close enough to him that you can see his hand. That there is a nearness that we get to experience in relation to him where we benefit immensely. The Erdman's critical commentary says of this verse that God's transcendence, like his godness, is not inaccessible. And it should be. Because most things that are transcendent are things that we cannot approach. And the psalmist is saying, I'm close enough that I can see his hand. But the beauty for us is even greater, that the psalmist is the old covenant, that we live under the new. And so because of Jesus Christ and his life and his death and his resurrection, that we're even closer than being able to see his hand. That God's Spirit literally will dwell inside of us. That because of Jesus, that we simply call upon his name and he's there. This God who is enthroned in the heavens, that his desire has always been, how do I get closer to them? And you see that there in the text. But then you see this theme that continues to go forward in the Psalms of Ascent, and it's a theme that I think that we all kind of relate to, and it's that people are the worst, right? Like, this is not the first time in the Psalms that the psalmist has communicated this idea. It's like, man, people are hard. Hurt people, people hurt people. Like, there's all this stuff. I mean, and what is the issue here? It's like, people. I mean, look at what he says. Have mercy on us, O Lord, have mercy on us. For we have had more than enough of contempt. Our soul has had more than enough of the scorn of those who are at ease, of the contempt of the proud. It's fascinating how some things don't ever change. Like, I think sometimes we longingly look back to a day when, like, people who had faith in God were respected. Well, this was like several thousand years ago, and they felt like they were like, so I don't know when that day is that you're thinking of, but I don't know that people have ever really not done that to people of faith. And he's looking at these people, and he's like, man, they are treating us with scorn, treating us with contempt. And scorn is the idea of thinking that you're, like, if you're being scornful, you're thinking that you are better than someone else. And to treat someone with contempt is to treat someone like you are better than them. And the psalmist is saying that I am so tired of these people who think they're better than us, who are so proud, and they're treating us like we're nothing because they believe that we are nothing. And man, if you've ever like been treated that way, man, that's hard to deal with. And what makes this even more difficult, okay, because what's worse than someone treating you like they don't think you're important? Well, the only thing worse than that is when someone treats you like they're not important when things are going well for that person that's treating you that way, right? Like, and what the psalmist is saying here is he's saying these people that are treating us with scorn and contempt, they're living at ease. They're proud that things are going well for them, which is horrible, right? And what the psalmist shows us is he shows us what to do when that happens. And it's that when someone treats you, or someone comes at you hard, or when someone, whenever you deal with people problems, that the response isn't to take it into your own hands. Like the psalmist doesn't put another verse in there that's like, God, open up the door for me to attack those who've been treating me with contempt. Like he doesn't say that, does he? Instead of doing that, he just says, God, show me mercy. That what he's saying is that even though these people have been horrible to our community, I trust that you're going to take care of us ultimately. And if you think about it, any time that someone treats us poorly and we respond in kind, part of what we're saying in that response is we're saying that I don't trust that God is a good master who will take care of me. Because if we really believed that, we wouldn't respond in kind. We would trust that God would work it all out. And the psalmist, I think that's probably why he's sitting there, because he's like, I trust you, I don't understand. And what this psalm is a picture of the psalmist saying, in this community who's made it to Jerusalem, that what they're doing is they're turning their eyes away from those who have been treating them with scorn and contempt, and instead of turning towards those people, they're saying, hey, instead of turning to them, I'm going to turn to God. And so as we think of this, okay, so as we turn to God in response to this psalm, what does this psalm show us about him? And I think it shows us three things that are pretty simple but profound. And the first thing is this, is that God is greater than us. The psalm shows us that God is greater than us. And I don't think that's like, whoa, I mean, you're at church. Like, if we had a true false like portion of this service, like you'd all get that one right probably. Like, he is greater than us. But if you really were to think of like how you live your life, like, do you really live your life in a way that always communicates that you think he's greater than you? I mean, the psalmist starts off by saying, like, he's greater. He's like, I lift up my eyes to you who are enthroned in the heavens. It doesn't get much greater than having your throne in the heavens. I like the way that Eugene Peterson says it in his book on the Psalms, where he says this. He says, we are not presented with a functional God who will help us out of jams, or an entertainment God who will lighten tedious hours. We are presented with the God of Exodus and Easter, the God of Calvary and Sinai. To understand him, we must do it on his terms. And part of his terms are realizing that he is greater than us. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that if he is greater than us, then that means that he understands our lives better than we do. He knows what you need the most. He knows what's best for you. Sometimes the way this fleshes out is there are times in your life where you're like, man, I'm on this path, I feel really good, and then God nudges your heart and you're not on the path anymore, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. But it's always smarter to follow him because he knows what's best for us. And to believe that he is greater is that whenever he gives you that nudge, to be like, okay, I think I can be confident that he knows what's better. Even similar but different, like if we really believe that God is greater than us, then our response to his word should always be obedient. Whenever you hear something from his word and and your life is going in a different direction, or whenever you're reading your Bible and your life's going in a different direction, that whenever you say to God's word, no, I'm going to do something different, the reason why you are saying that is because at some level you think you're greater than him. Because if you really thought that he was greater than you, then whenever he speaks, you'll always say yes. That even this idea, okay, that God, if he's really greater than us, if he's really enthroned in the heavens, then if we really believe that to be true, then we should be doing everything we can to get as close to him as we can get. Last Thursday, I went to the Nebraska-Cincinnati game, okay? And we do this thing where if we go to a game, we get there way too early, and we try to walk around and create unique experiences, okay? So, like, we got there, we were the first people in the gate, because that's what we do, and we went to the field, okay? So, like, me and a bunch of 12-year-old boys standing by the field, okay? And because it's kind of cool, like, you get to watch... Like, you get to watch the athletes warm up. So I'm, like, watching them snap, and, like, they're running routes. And this is also happening while these people were warming up on the field, is that the team was, like, just, like, walking around the field. And they had these, like, warm-up jerseys that had their numbers on it. And I didn't study for the game, so I didn't know who was which number. And so, like, I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like, I'm like, they were, like, in the third row. I'm like, dude, I'm, like, that close to, like, Marquise Buford. This is crazy. And so I'm, like, pulling up the roster on my phone, and every time someone walks by, I'm like, Marquise Buford, you're a dog, man! And like the 12-year-olds are like, dude, how old are you? Like, what's going on? I didn't take any autographs away from them, okay? Like, I didn't. I just was there to be there, all right? But like, there was this sense where it's like, it's not crazy. with the things that we love, with the things that we like, we get as close to those things as we can, don't we? We push in at a level that maybe makes ourselves feel a little weird and look a little weird, but we don't care because we love those things. And if we're willing to do that with things like sports, how much more should we be willing to say, okay, God, I know this makes me feel uncomfortable, but it's what you want, so I'm going to do it anyways. Or, you know what, I know that I probably really don't have time for this, but I'm going to do it anyways because more than anything, I know that you're greater than me, and I want to be close to you. That even if this requires a little bit of sacrifice and it makes me look kind of foolish, if it means that at the end of this thing I'm closer to you, then I'm going to do this. And anytime we are presented with that option and we say no, the reason why we're saying no is because there's something inside of us that's saying, maybe I don't think he's as great as he is. And so we have to see us in relation to him, that he is greater than us. The second thought is this, and it's that he is a good master. He's a good master. The text is leaning into this idea that God, that he's a good master. You know, and the idea of like a master, like I almost like balk at the idea. Like you take a picture of that, post it on the internet with no context, people are going to be like, what is he saying? And I think it's because when we think of master, we think of that word, we probably think of one of two things. We think of probably like Civil War era American history, or we think of that boss that we had that we really hated, or the boss that we have that we really hate. Like that's what we think of, right? And that, like, that is not the framework at all that the psalmist is communicating here to talk about how we relate to God. And though, have you ever in your life had like a good leader that you followed and you really loved to follow? I was thinking about like when I was in 8th grade, I played basketball. This guy's name's Coach Dean. And man, he was awesome. He was awesome. There were 15 spots on the team, and that year he took 16 because he wanted to take a chance on a kid, and I was 16, and everybody knew it. Like people would be doing drills, and he took me off to a goal to the side and like re-taught me how to shoot a basketball because I shot with 2 hands, and you're really only supposed to shoot with one. And I don't know why that was that funny, but it was to you. So I cried about it, but whatever. No, you thought it was funny, so that's great. But no, he took me aside, he worked with me, he taught me he was a really great teacher of basketball. We ran this half-court trap, and it was called Bulldog. And I coached Upward for my son the last 2 years, and we ran the same play and called it Bulldog just because like that, I remembered Coach Dean did it, and I thought it was really cool, and so I was like, I'm going to honor him by calling the play the same thing. And I think the best moment, though, of his leadership, okay, was the previous year we played. The best team in our conference was Reed Spring or Springs Reed. I don't know where the S goes, and I don't really care. But like we played them, and they beat us. They were kind of like the good team. And before that game, Coach Dean gets up, and he tells us this story. And he's like, is this story about when he played at Crane and how he never played as hard as he could. And it was like the craziest thing. Like everybody in that locker room was so inspired. Like we ran out there and played like our hair was on fire, and we beat them. And it was like this picture, though, of like really, really good leadership. Everyone on that team at the end of the season would have said, I'm so glad that Coach Dean was our coach because he made us better and he led us very well. And that's closer to the image that's being communicated here when it talks about God being our master. So for the psalmist to say, behold, as the eyes of a servant looks to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maidservant looks to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God till he has mercy upon us. It's this picture of we have this incredible master. We have this incredible leader who is only going to take us where we need to go. Like Derek Kidner says, like the idea of like that's communicated, there isn't an idea of a master with like doling out punishment. But the idea there is the master is there to give and bring relief. And so the picture in the text is one where it's like, no, we look to God, our master, because what God, our master, does is he brings us relief. That we can trust him in that role in our lives. And really you see how he does that. And you see that was my third idea. And it's that he gives us mercy. How does our master God give us relief? Is he gives us relief by showing us mercy. Mercy is something that we don't deserve. Like, if you deserve it, it's not mercy. When someone shows you mercy, it's someone who has every right to punish you, but they choose not to punish you and they give you mercy. That God has every right to punish us. He has every right to show us with contempt. He has every right, but instead what he does, he gives us mercy. And that's what the psalmist is looking for. I mean, look at how he says it. He says, have mercy upon us, O Lord. Have mercy upon us. And I don't know, I think about that. Like he's crying out for mercy in the midst of someone who is, these people are surrounding him. And they're giving him scorn, they're giving him contempt. And instead of him feeling all of these things, he's like, instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to God and I'm going to trust that he's going to give me mercy. You know, and there's an interesting phrase here in the psalm. It's where he's talking about the contempt of the proud. And he says that I have had more than enough contempt. I was thinking about it. Like, you know, with your kids when you're like, I've had more than enough. Like, had more than enough of that attitude. Like, when was that? Like, the first time, the snarky comment's okay. Second time, how dare you? Third time, more than enough. Like, I don't know when you get there, but you do. And that's not the idea that's communicated, but actually, the idea that's communicated here in the text is that the psalmist is experiencing so much contempt that he's saying the contempt of the proud, it's literally saturating me. You know, and as I was thinking about just like saturation, I think of like this, like a wet washcloth. Like it's legit, like this is saturated. Like don't walk here because it's going to drip. Like couldn't put any more water in there. It's saturated. And what I think is so interesting is that the psalmist is like, I'm so saturated with contempt. But like, what does God do? Is that God saturates us with mercy. I love the way that Eugene Peterson says it. He says it like this. He says, the word mercy means that the upward look to God in the heavens does not expect God to stay in the heavens, but to come down, enter our condition, and to accomplish the vast enterprise of redemption, to fashion us into his eternal salvation. Man, the beautiful mercy that we get from God, that it is seen in Jesus Christ. I love the way that the Apostle Paul says it. He says it this way, and I'm just going to read verse 4, where it says, but God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love which he loved us. That God, he is rich to us in mercy. That it's beautiful that anywhere you go, if you are pursuing God, anywhere you go, you're going to run into mercy. That if you think about your past, that there's mercy there. If you think about your future, there's mercy there. That if you're sitting here in some sin that you're just like, ugh, that what God gives you in those moments is he gives you mercy. But his mercy is something that though he's willing to saturate us with it, that we have to be willing to take the step to allow him to do it. And that's really the question that we have to ask ourselves this morning. Have we allowed ourselves to be saturated in his mercy? Is that where we're putting our trust? Or are we putting our trust in something else? Let's pray. God, we love you. And we thank you that God, that you saturate us with mercy. That you desire to be good to us. that even thinking about this psalm in the context of the New Testament, that it is so ironic. The one person that could treat us with scorn and contempt is you. Because you are greater than us. Compared to you, we are worthless. But God, instead of treating us with scorn and contempt, what you do instead is you treat us with mercy. And God, I just pray this morning as we evaluate our lives, I think we fall probably into one of two camps. Maybe we're here and we follow you and we need to just be reminded of how incredible your mercy is. And God, maybe there are people here and the truth is they've never responded to your mercy. They're putting their trust in other things. And I just pray, God, in this moment right now, that by the power of your Spirit, that you would make their hearts come alive to the reality of their need for you. And that, God, that they would respond. That they would respond by putting their trust in you to do what only you can do, which is to save our souls by showing us mercy when we deserve wrath. God, we love you. We thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Love you guys.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us online today. We hope that this service was everything that you needed it to be. And if you would like to find out more about what's going on at New Life Church, check us out online at nlspringfield.com. From there, you can find out more about our staff. You can see upcoming events. And if you would like to give to New Life Church, you can go to giving.nlspringfield.com. Have a great week, everybody.